different wines, people usually make them in tones, so in very large amounts, but Kisi doesn't just come in that amount, but price-wise, it's pretty much the same, to be honest, yeah. Since we were talking about feasts, I wanted to tell you also a little bit traditionally, during a feast when there's a lot of people gathered, there's one person who's kind of the leader of the table called Tamada, who's leading the table, making sure that everyone is drinking the toast and just looking after everyone, who likes to make the toast as well. And traditionally, before Georgians used glasses to drink, they used kind of bowls of clay. And as you can see, we have a lot of things made from clay, because clay usually keeps the temperature of anything, so it's really good to use. It's also natural, and we have it in large amounts in Georgia. And this is called piala in Georgia, which is basically a bowl made from a clay pot, which is what Georgians used before they invented glasses. Although even today they use these to drink for special toasts. For example, if it's someone's birthday, they make a toast to them by using these. And sometimes even this. So these are called anzi in Georgia. But these are basically made from horn. Some of them are natural, some of them are made from clay pots or just metal. And this is a very popular gift in Georgia. It's very common to gift someone this. For example, this was a gift from our grandmother to our grandfather in 1973. So you have to fill up the entire thing and drink the entire thing. So as you probably would guess, Georgians like to brag about how much they can drink traditionally. So, and the main difference between the glass and anzi is that when you sip a bit of alcohol from the glass, you can put it down, but you can't put the anzi down because it will just pour out. So you have to drink this entire thing, fill it up again, and pass it to the person who's in front of you. And let's also move on to the next wine, which is saperawi. This one, I think, is the most popular wine among Georgian wines, and not only among Georgians, but also internationally. This is the wine that people drink the most. This is red dry wine, and this is also the wine that I told you that also has color inside of it. This is the only type of grape.
With or without?
I'm sorry?
With alcohol, without?
All of these are with alcohol.
With alcohol.
No for you? And an interesting thing about this wine is since the color is kind of doubled because it has color from the skin and from the inside of the grape, some people like to call it black wine, even though it's red wine. And in Georgia, the culture, religion, and wine are very interconnected with each other. So in Georgia, they like to symbolize this exact wine with Jesus' blood. And the main religion in Georgia is Christianity, especially Orthodox Christianity. So, for example, when someone goes to church and wants to talk to the priest about their sins, the priest first needs to give them a little bit of this wine as a symbol of Jesus' blood, and a little piece of bread as a symbol of his flesh and body. And afterwards they can start talking about the said person's sins and so on. And by the way, this wine and the next wine, King's Marauli, that is also red wine, but it's semi-sweet, are made from the same grapes. But the reason why this one's dry and this one's semi-sweet is the technology we use to make it. And this is exactly what I left out because I wanted to explain it while we're tasting as well. So I explained to you that the longer we keep all the skin and the ferments together with the juice, the drier the wine gets. But if we want to make sweet wine or semi-sweet wine, we don't want to let the fermentation process finish, so we take them out, take the juice out after 4 or 5 days, which is the middle of the fermentation process, and we put it in the fridge. And why we do that is, as I explained to you, during the fermentation process, the bacteria outside the skin, it's the sugar inside the skin. But if we want to make sweet wine, we want to keep that sugar. We don't want to let the bacteria eat it. So we keep it, and after 4 or 5 days, which the fermentation process has started, but it's not finished, we put it in the fridge. So in an artificial way, we're kind of freezing the sugar that was initially inside the grapes. So the wine stays sweet because it keeps the sugar from the grapes. And that's how we get semi-sweet wine or sweet wine. Was that understandable?
Yes, yes, yes. Easy. Your English is so good.
Thank you. This is actually favorite wine of most people who come here because it's easier to taste. Georgians enjoy drier wine and any alcohol that's higher in the percentage of it. Especially, I would say a lot of women prefer it.
Yeah,
it's sweeter to drink, easier to process. And Georgian people are not very fond of sweets. We have like 2 types of sweets traditionally, and that's it. But a lot of people recommend this one with like chocolate cake. Maybe it's very good if you like sweets. And if not, mainly Georgians would recommend drinking it with any type of meat or potatoes. Sometimes, mainly that. Would you like me to pour some more?
No,
Okay, sure. And that was the last type of wine that we had. We also have Jaja. Have you heard of Jaja before?
No.
Jaja is a stronger alcohol, which is made also traditionally. It's from Georgia. It kind of tastes the same way as a brandy or a vodka, but the difference is we make vodka from wheat, the thing we use to make bread, but we make Jaja from the remnants of grapes. We use them. So, as I explained to you, when we separate these ferments from the juice and we use the juice to make the wine, all those leftover skin, seeds, ferments, we don't throw them out. We use them to make Jaja because all those leftover things are called Jaja and we name the liquid after it. So usually, this is higher in alcohol. This one has 40% of alcohol in it, but usually it's from 40 to 60. Although the first time we make Jaja, it usually has 70 or 80%, but after we let it sit, it kind of goes down a little. So naturally, pure Jaja is completely transparent. It doesn't have any color, so I've actually heard a lot of stories of people who woke up, they have a hangover, they want to drink some water, but in the fridge they confuse water with Jaja. So it's very hard to drink. I can pour you some water. Although, as I told you, pure Jaja is completely transparent, but this is more yellowish color because we made it in an oak barrel, which is like that type of thing. That's an oak barrel, which gives it specific color like clay does, more yellowish. Plus, my mom likes to experiment a lot with the taste of it. So in this specific one, she put some orange skin inside of it, and if you've seen inside the walnut, there's like brown skin that separates the 2 pieces from together. She put also that for medicine effect. So this kind of good when you have a flu or when you have a cold, that type of thing, basically. And the mechanism is right outside here because we finished it, I think 2 weeks ago, making Jaja. This is actually how we keep it. It's kind of getting ready right now. And I can show you the mechanism as well. It's right here. And I haven't told you what these are. These are sweet jams, sesame juice, naturally made all by my mother. This is Georgian oil, sunflower oil, mainly used in salads or as an alive food. This is a traditional sour Georgian sauce, sour sweet sauce, which is made from plum. And here we have some Georgian spices made from greenery. This is a little spicier. You can taste it if you like, for example, or smell it, which is mainly used in cooking. Although some people like to just pour a little bit on the bread, for example, and taste it that way. wanted to tell you also that, as I mentioned, wine is a big part of Georgian culture. So much that the first thing an enemy would destroy when they would come to Georgia was grape trees, because that way they would be ruining Georgians' chance to make wine. And we produce a lot of things with wine. If you've seen it or heard of it, we have chuchela, like Georgian sneakers. If you've seen it, I'm going to show you how it looks like, which is one of the only types of Georgian sweets that we have, which is very rich in taste. So during wars, when people would need to satisfy their hunger, a lot of the times that's what they used to eat, because it was richer in taste. And that was also one chance that the enemy would be destroying, but also Georgian people's spirit in that way. And wineries were considered, and they still are, a holy place. A lot of weddings took place in the wineries. When an enemy would come, a lot of the times they would hide out inside of here, because, and especially because a lot of the time wineries were underground, or if they're not underground, they have very thick walls, because naturally made wine needs to be kept at a lower temperature at all times, differing from the wine made in the factories. So that's why we have thick walls, and we have them underground. Even query, the clay specifically keeps the temperature down, but also the reason is that naturally it's built in the way that no matter what the weather is outside, it will keep it in the needed temperature for the wine to not go bad.